Thanks, Grail. Call the meeting to order. It's with great respect and humility that we acknowledge and honor the lands of the Snuneymuxw people. The Snuneymuxw people maintain a profound, unique, and spiritual connection to the land through ageless traditions, teachings, stewardship, and expressions of reciprocity. We have no items to transfer to open this evening. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes in order to the agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Naomi and Mark? Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Moving on to the minutes, that the minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting held on October 25th, 2023 be adopted. We have a mover? Mark, seconder? We have a seconder for the motion. Sorry, Chantal, thank you. Any comments, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to the Section 72.3 report. That the Section 72.3 report from the closed Board of Education meeting on October 25th, 2023, and the special closed Board of Education meetings on October 24th, 2023, and November 7th, 2023 be received. Do we have a mover? Naomi and Mark? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 9, announcements and reminders. The Education Committee meeting is scheduled for December 6th, 2023. The Business Committee meeting is scheduled for December 13th, 2023. The Board of Education meeting is scheduled December 20th, 2023. And school reopens from winter break on January 8th, 2024. Mark?
Thanks, Greg. I don't see the AGM for the 6th or for the 6th. There.
Okay, yes, thank you. So the annual general meeting of the board is December 6th. I'm going to double check that at 5 p.m. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so we will move on to item 10, presentations, and I'll welcome Linda and Paul from the Nanaimo Area Land Trust. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Paul Chapman, with the Nanaimo Area Land Trust, also known as NALT. NALT is probably best known being folks who raise the funds to buy the land in town, Mount Benson Regional Park, also School Water Stewards Program. The School Water Stewards Program is a curriculum relevant place-based experience that connects students to their watersheds and to their neighborhoods at no cost to students or schools to participate. And I will turn it over for Linda to talk more about the program.
Okay. Thank you for letting me present in front of you about this program. That means a lot to me. I've been working on it since 2020 when we piloted it with 2 schools, a full year program, which was an interesting twist to us when COVID started and we had to be doing everything outdoors, which really was what we were hoping to do. So it was a real benefit to the students that we worked with that year because it gave them that outdoor time and to have some of their energy that COVID was stressing them out a little bit. So, but since 2020, our lessons have expanded across School District 68 and School District 69. Currently, we are working with the schools I've listed here: McGurr, Georgia Avenue, Frank J. Ney, Ecole Hammond Bay, Pauline Herrera, Ecole Quarterway, Rocky Point, Cedar, Siouxwest, and Departure Bay. And also potentially Bayview. I just had some emails today. So that is, I think my total is 33 different classes that we've been working with. And the program is basically just to help foster ecological literacy about fresh water in elementary school age children. So we're really focusing on the elementary students from K to 7, giving them opportunities to learn about and interact with local freshwater resources and associated ecosystems that are within walking distance primarily for them, if possible. So these are places that they already know about, they already have some experience, and we're just trying to deepen that connection, deepen the possibilities for stewardship and their excitement about these places that, you know, hopefully they get to explore sometimes on their own. Okay, so we have been growing steadily with new recruitment happening primarily through word of mouth. So one teacher tells another teacher and then they sign up with us. And it's basically been working through that. We had a Pro-D with, what's our school? With the Cole Hammond Bay, and just working with all the different teachers to show in so far as they're interested in expanding what they provide to the students. And we're just managing our growth at this point with respect to our capacity and the need to be equitable in our delivery. We really think it's important that what we offer is free and it's low barrier. So low barrier for teachers in terms of we're providing the delivery. It's low barrier in terms of transportation costs. We try to make things as close as possible. And yeah, it's curriculum linked. That's also important because they have those responsibilities and they definitely appreciate that we can help them and provide them with resources if they want to further what we provide. And then the other important thing we think is that it really is nature-based and hands-on for them. So our program, we primarily offer core lessons and we also have stewardship actions. So the core lessons are some of the things that all the teachers ask for. The stewardship actions are when there's potential and opportunities in relation to the freshwater resource. So if it's a stream or a marsh and we know that there is a need for invasive removal or for maybe planting and increasing biodiversity, or even in studying the wildlife that uses that ecosystem, then we create a stewardship project with them. Our lessons, so we've broken it down roughly to some intro exploratory lessons for K to 2. And those are really more hands-on, a lot simpler in terms of the content that is delivered, and it's just giving them a chance to have those experiences and to understand that all the possible ways of learning in a ecosystem or in a wild natural space. And then there's also, we have grade 3 to 5 and 6 to 7, the lessons that we provide. What is a watershed? So we're building watershed models and exploring the interactions between what happens on land and how it can impact the health of our streams and marshes and rivers. We also look at the bugs, water bugs, or the more scientific term, aquatic macroinvertebrates. So the bugs that we can see without needing a microscope. And we show them that those can actually be used as indicators of ecosystem health. So they just look and explore and help us identify all the different bugs based on these identification keys that we provide them. And then when we finish that activity, we look at the list and we say, well, what does this tell us if we have a lot of bugs that are pollution tolerant, so they can live in a polluted environment, but we don't have a lot of the ones that are pollution intolerant? What does that maybe tell us about this ecosystem? We also do a stream health assessment, which is modeled on the Pacific Streamkeeper Foundation. It's a citizen science stream health assessment, and so we've sort of made it a junior streamkeepers stream health assessment using terminology and concepts that they can understand. And then the native and invasive plant identification, which I did a whole bunch of that today, and it was really excellent. The students really feel some pride when it's like, I know that's a salmonberry, or I know that's a sword fern. And the next time they see it, they'll tell us. So that's great. And then we've expanded, we've created a groundwater lesson, which is also model based and just basically connecting this resource that is kind of invisible. Maybe not so important in Nanaimo, but it's definitely important in Cedar, on Gabriola, in other areas where everyone's on a well and where, you know, those water restrictions are strongly felt. So, and then our stewardship actions. These are lots of fun. Sometimes I really love my job. So we are doing things like salamander monitoring with 3 different schools, just looking at what species of salamanders are in local watersheds. Invasive plant removal, of course, there's always some of that that needs to happen. Riparian planting, we just finished a planting project at Siowenst, which was funded by the City of Nanaimo's Community Watershed Restoration. And we've worked really closely with them. The students are actually, they've created door knockers. Each student has drawn their own little information and sort of message for the neighbors about dumping yard waste in forested areas and in watersheds and how that's not a good thing. So we're trying to connect with the community that way. And then we also have other projects that we're working on with turtles, birds, whatever, whenever there's an opportunity for that. And then in terms of the impact, so from my perspective, of course, being that I'm a stewardship manager, are we done? 1 more minute? Okay, good. This is my last slide. So from my perspective, I notice that for children, being in nature does have a lot of benefits to them. All kinds of emotional, developmental benefits, and also academic benefits for the ones that maybe don't have those traditional academic skills. It gives them an opportunity to find new ways of learning. So there's a lot of research on this, and one of them is David Sobel, who's an environmental educator, and he talks about transcendent experiences being worth more than 1,000 nature facts that you might read in a book. So your experience for a child in nature can actually be more meaningful and impactful for them than everything they might learn in a book. Yeah, and then I have a bunch of, these are actual quotes from some of the students that we've worked with. And yeah, it's really meaningful, I think, when they're like, this is more fun than recess. And they are willing to forego their recess so that they can keep doing this thing with us. So yeah, I just wanted you to know a little bit about our program. Thank you for your time.
So I'd just like to so I'll put my hands up and say Haitsepka to you and Paul and the folks at NALT. I thought that perhaps before we entertain any questions that I might, just for the benefit of our board and the work that you do at NALT, make a connection between our strategic plan and the services that you're providing to our students. I think it's important that, I'm sure you're aware already, that our board and previous board has developed the goal in our strategic plan of environmental stewardship, becoming leaders in environmental stewardship. Followed that through with the creation and adoption of an environmental sustainability stewardship action plan. And we've developed the actual action plan, and we've developed a work plan. We're in the process of developing a work plan. And outdoor learning, connecting with the land, Indigenous learning, those are all aspects of that are really important to our board, important to the work that we're doing, and then just really appreciate the connection that NALT has provided, in my view, to the work that we're doing on behalf of our students. So thank you very much. Trustees, is there any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you to the presenters. I appreciate your time today. I just wanted to share that, years ago, I got a hold of a local resource called the Voices of the River. And it was something that NALT had a hand in putting together with Paul Manley. And it was an exploration of the Nanaimo River, something that our students take for granted. I've probably been there thousands of times, hundreds of times, dozens of times, what have you. But to be able to put it into context and be usable in a classroom setting, to be able to provide the history behind it, the science behind it. It was an incredible resource because it was local, because it connected kids to a deeper learning about something that they already knew about, that they already cared about. So that's actually what really excites me about this program, is that you're creating local resources that are going to be able to excite our kids about things in their own neighborhood, things they already know about. What's that gully down there? Well, it's not just a gully, right? So thank you very much for this work, and I look forward to continued partnership with Dalton School District.
Any other questions, trustees? Mark?
Greg, through you to the delegation. Linda and Paul, thank you so much. It's a valuable thing that the kids are getting to absorb. So without you, that wouldn't happen. I can see by the comments from some of the students that the feedback is absolutely positive. So I'm absorbing and loving every minute of it. I have a question regarding the different types of terrain that the schools have, whereas Departure Bay Eco School will have also Hammond Bay would have a close proximity to the ocean, whereas some other schools might not, and the topography, say Frank J. Nay, has more of a living forest surrounding it. When you're going to the different schools, are you finding any, I guess, having to pivot? What kind of challenges or pivots because of the different topography or different terrains?
Absolutely. I think we tailor all of our native and invasive plant species to what we know is there, so that they can be looking at pictures of the plants that they'll actually see. And in terms of stewardship actions, for instance, working with McGurr Elementary, there really isn't anything that's very close. So we do have a little bit of funding from the RDN's Drinking Water and Watershed Protection Program that we could use towards busing the students. So we're talking with a few of the classes that I've been working with and turning it into sort of a day out, potentially either near Neck Point and Wally Creek or Departure Creek and Woodstream Park. Yeah, I mean, in the back of my mind, there's always this idea of, what about a rain garden or something that they could build and maintain and work on, that would be theirs and local, and that they could learn these same ideas and apply them. So, I mean, that's a big project. So, but ideally that would be the best solution rather than busing. But for the time being, we do have some funds to pay for the students to have access.
Wonderful, thanks.
Naomi?
So I had a follow-up
Oh, yeah, follow-up.
question. Sorry, thanks, Greg, through you to the delegation. Just to follow up to you or Paul, you mentioned something a little heartbreaking that kind of hurt my heart a little bit in terms of hearing reports that sometimes the students are coming across dumped stuff in the bush and that sort of thing. I know we have some individuals in our community, Melissa Griswold, Joel Canfield. They're actively trying to reduce that. When you come across that, I would imagine that's quite impactful for the students to see that. Have you noticed an increase in that, or because you were in this in 2020, I believe is.
In terms of like actual garbage dumped, or in terms of yard waste?
Yard waste, garbage, the whole gambit, Linda.
Well, I think yard waste has always been an issue. We've been working with the city on it, and they've always had people who, there's just some people who, even though the green bin is totally, they know it exists and they know what it's for, and they know it's for whatever reason, they just think, and it might just simply be a matter of ignorance that, I mean, I think there are many people out there who don't understand. They think it's just leaf litter and I'll just put it in a pile over here and it'll compost and it'll be good for the forest. And that's a hard message. It's a habit that can be difficult to change. So I think working with the students and seeing their art, and I think that'll maybe make a difference. We removed a whole bunch of yard waste. It was 3 of those big bins, like those DWL bins? What's the dumping? Like, yeah, anyways. Yeah. Those big bins, the students filled 3 of them. That was paid for by the city. And then we planted this week. And so we planted where they've dumped, and hopefully they get the message that that's not where we want. That's not what we want to see in that spot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Naomi?
I just think your program is so exciting because Greg mentioned that it ties into our environmental sustainability action plan, ties into the curriculum, the big ideas in the curriculum, BC curriculum. And we do know, like it said, I have a quote up there about how when children are learning in the environment that they're growing up in, when they become adults, they're going to become, and they'll appreciate and want to take care of the land that they're living on. So the stewardship piece then comes that in adulthood. I just wanted to ask you a question. I looked at the list of schools, and then I started thinking about it, and I thought maybe it's because North Oyster would be in the Cowichan Regional District, because you were talking about having like funding. Because I don't know if you've been to North Oyster, but it is like incredibly beautiful, and it's got forests all around it. It's in Yellow Point. So, are you limited because of distance?
Oh no, we go up to Bowser, so we would, any school that's interested. I think that's a little bit of our challenge, is getting the word out, and then building our capacity to meet as much demand as we receive. So yeah, I mean, if you have some links with North Oyster, there's definitely some schools on my list of like, I need to reach out to these schools because, but I think maybe I'm wrong about this, but North Oyster also has a few, like, do they work with the hatchery? Do they work with Adam Laforet?
Yes.
Yeah. So
can I follow up with a comment? Yeah, North Oyster is actually my school as a trustee.
Oh, great.
And I also taught there years ago, so I have a real soft spot for the place. Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely talk to them because I was really pleased to see that their French immersion kindergarten classes spend the first 2.5 hours outside in the forest.
Oh, wow.
Every day.
That's great.
So I just thought that your program would just really align with, so maybe we'll try to make that connection. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks.
We have a couple more questions. Leanna?
Hi, guys. Thank you for the presentation. One of the schools that I've been visiting is the CUNs, and it was so amazing to overhear kids talking about it, to overhear students like kind of correcting each other and talking about how awful it was that this neighbor put grass clippings in, and like just kind of from a kid's point of view, hearing it in their words, it was just so special. And to see how much that's impacted, like just these little ones being so protective of the wetlands and behind the school. It's really, really an amazing spot there at CUNs. And the Diane was showing me the door hangers. So that's a pretty awesome way to have these beautiful little art door hangers on doors as this gentle reminder to everybody. And I guess people, like some of the neighbors, are just blocking little trailheads. So I agree with you. Like, I don't know why people choose to do this when we have the green bins, but apparently it is ongoing. Yeah, so very thankful of it. And it's so amazing to hear a student be proud of environmental stewardship and protecting water areas and marshes. It's just really amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Chantal?
I'm going to echo what everybody else said. Took the words out of my mouth, everybody. Thank you. I'm excited too because, the more students work with the land that they're around, there's more buy-in, especially as they grow up and stuff, and to making sure that it stays great. My question is about the terrain. It seems like it's all different kinds of terrain and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if you hit like accessibility challenges and stuff like that for those who might not be able to access those places as well. Are you finding that, or are you getting creative and right? Because
well, there are always those kinds of challenges for every site. For instance, CUNs has a beautiful marsh literally right beside it, but to access it in a way that is safe for children is a real challenge. So we don't have them go into the marsh. They don't collect the bugs themselves. We don't want anyone slipping in or anything like that. So We did have some discussions with the city about building what we called a learning pier on that. And that might, that's one of our long-term goals, is to make it more open for the community, but also for the students to be able to connect with the marsh a little bit better. But yeah, accessibility is a challenge, but so far we've been able to manage keeping everyone safe, but still giving them as much chance to get hands-on engagement. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I have one. Okay, just one final question for me. I'm curious, as you go and do this good work at our different school sites, if you have observed cases of rare ecosystem types, plant communities, shrubs. Obviously in the east coast of Vancouver Island, we're in the Douglas Fir Coast Moist Maritime Biology-Climatic Zone, and there's the which is an endangered ecosystem type, as I understand it. And I'm just curious, if we were as a board overseeing these lands, are there areas of priority that we should be considering from an environmental sensitivity perspective?
Well, wetlands for sure. Just because there are always challenges with protecting wetlands. And then there are some Garry Oak ecosystem remnants. For instance, beside Cole Hammond Bay, there was a discovery recently by one of Nault's colleagues, I guess a botanist, of a really rare, it's Plagiobothres figuratus, so it's fragrant popcorn flower. And it only grows in these little, they're called vernal pools. So they're just these temporary wetlands that they basically look like a puddle to everybody, except for botanists, because they're, the best place to find these rare species that can only grow. They're usually an annual flower. So they'll seed, they'll go through their whole cycle, but they'll do it in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks, where they'll sprout, bloom, and seed, and then die because the puddle dries up. So this was found, and it's right beside Hammond Bay School. And so they've taken a little bit of ownership in terms of trying to protect this Garry Oak ecosystem and learning a bit about it. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to add, Paul?
Just that until the fragrant popcorn flower was found there by Kent Anders, it was thought to be extirpated from Vancouver Island. So that
From Canada,
From
actually.
Canada. So it's incredibly rare, and it's great to have that opportunity to make that connection with the school and the land.
And just one final follow-up comment to that is the reason I ask is because one of the goals I think that is likely coming out of our environmental action plan is re-indigenizing and renaturalizing some of our underutilized spaces. And it's especially important to focus on environmentally sensitive ecosystem types, fragments, rare plant and animal communities. And we don't know where those are unless somebody like yourself shares with us. And then of course our staff can work with that to figure out the best way to protect it. So anyways, we'll go on if there's any more. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Wow, I feel like this is a real gift to us and to our schools. And I will certainly share the information widespread with our principals and vice principals, and I'll walk through sort of the curriculum pieces, and then you'll probably be getting a lot more calls, I bet. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome to stay or have a good evening.
I'm sorry. But I appreciate all the work you do. My kids are in school district 68. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, trustees, so we'll move on to item 11, correspondence. 11.1, correspondence from A. Coutu. There's a recommended motion if a trustee would like to move it. Chantel?
That the Board of Education of School District Number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, refer the letter from A. Coutu to the board chair for response.
Do we have a seconder for the motion? Mark, would you like to say anything to motivate the motion?
Well, I think it's great that it's going to go to you. You know, this is always on our radar. I know the letter's a bit old, a little dated, from, you know, but there's always that, that awareness that we need to keep up front, regarding the contents of the letter anyway. But, yeah, this is something that I know we've all, been, supporting and discussing. So thank you. Yes.
Any other further discussion? Naomi?
Yeah, just my discussion piece maybe centers around ensuring that I think we would might be useful for us to know the steps that we're taking to protect our students in the schools. I think we have done a great job in supporting SOGI, but I'd like to see to see the follow-up of how we're ensuring that our students are safe in our schools.
So maybe what I would suggest is we could bring that item to another meeting. Tonight, we're just asking the board what it wants to do with the correspondence, but I agree that's something the board wants to learn more about, or talk about, or discuss, then we can bring that forward at a future meeting.
Sounds good.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to committee reports. We'll start with the business committee under item 12.1, and I'll pass it over to Tanya.
Thank you very much. That we have 3 motions tonight. First one is that the Board of Education of School District number 68, and I'm a Ladysmith, approve to award KMBR Architects Planners Inc. the development of a project definition report, PDR, of the Ladysmith Intermediate School, LIS, seismic mitigation project based on the anticipated approval from Ministry of Education and Child Care to proceed with the replacement of the school.
Thank you, Tanya. Do we have a seconder? Mark? Tanya, would you like to motivate the motion?
I think that this is a great next step in something that the people in the Ladysmith community have been hoping for and wanting for quite a while. And the sooner we move forward with it, the better for everyone.
Thank you, Tanya. Any other speakers? Not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Next
Tanya,
one.
back
The
to
Board
you.
of Education of School District number 68, and I'm a Ladysmith, approved to award KMBR Architects Planners Inc. the development of the project definition report, PDR, of the Ladysmith Primary School LPS expansion project.
Seconded by Mark. Would you like to motivate Tanya?
As above, this is right in line with our long-range facilities plan. This is something that the community has been hoping for, and it's exciting to be able to move forward with it.
Thank you, Tanya. Any other comments? I'll just add my support for the motion. I'm very excited for the community of Ladysmith. It's much needed and deserved, and I look forward to the project
Absolutely.
moving forward.
Absolutely.
No other hands up, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And third and final motion, Tanya.
Thank you. That the Board of Education of School District number 68, and I'm a Ladysmith, approve the amendments to policy 2.18, trustee remuneration and professional development expenses subject to public consultation, utilizing the consultation process as per board governance section 1, 2.7 policy development.
We have a seconder. Mark? Back to you to motivate Tanya.
Thank you. Well, I think it is important to remind folks that these policy updates are not really changes in practice. They're simply making more clear what has always been our practice, and it's not a raise to anybody. It's simply making clear what we already do. So I think that we need to make sure our policies are as clear as possible. So this is the best way to go ahead and do that.
Thank you. Any other comments? I will add to that, just to expand on what Tanya had said, that the purpose of the proposed amendment to this policy was to clarify some elements of the policy that staff were having challenges with respect to interpretation. They do not affect trustee remuneration, and that the amendments are considered relatively minor housekeeping type amendments. I do recognize that this might not be the standard sort of process that we would follow in the policy committee to amend policies rather, but be in the circumstances due to the fact that these particular amendments are considered minor and are within sort of what I would consider the scope and intent of the policy. In this case, I support going forward in this manner, and in recognition that we would be going out to public consultation and the board will have the opportunity to hear from the community. So I will speak in favor of the motion. Are there any other comments? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you.
So we don't have any motions coming forward from the Education Committee, and we do not have any senior staff reports. So I'll move on to section 14 under unfinished business, 14.1, policy 2.22, public interest disclosure. And I'll pass it over to Mark.
Thank you, Chair. And if I freeze, just tell me and I will turn the camera off. I'm not paying the hotel for an extra internet charges this evening. So what the board has before it is following the 30-day consultation period with respect to the proposed policy 2.22 public interest disclosure. This policy is statutorily mandated. We are required to have this in place by December 1. So the board has to pass it in some format or another this evening. The background is provided by Mr. Johnston, and we've added that in the September memo that instigated this policy procedure. Essentially, just as a reminder, what it is going to allow is, I guess it's quote unquote, the whistleblower policy, and it sets out what that looks like. And so we prefer to call it a proactive disclosure policy, but it sets out the process by which that would occur in the system. So you can see the feedback was minor, but the little feedback we did have was positive. So it's there for the board to pass. Remember, again, we do need it in place or to institute it by the 1st of December.
Thank you, Mark. Would a trustee like to move the motion or ask a question? Chantal?
I just want to apologize to my camera is not working on my computer, so I am light bulbs, which is really relevant to who I am. But anyway, the motion is as follows: that the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, adopt policy 2.22, public interest disclosure.
Thank you, Chantal. Do we have a seconder? Mark, would you like to motivate the motion?
I think Mark Walsh said it best. We have to have this in by December 1st. It's already gone through policy committee, and our staff did an amazing job at making a really good one. So thank you. Thank you for all your hard work on this one.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Mark?
Thank you, Craig. I'm supporting the motion. Part of the content of the motion, or part of the content of the report, mentions the use of Facebook and Twitter. And I guess that's X now, but it's my understanding the last couple of days that the owner of X has made some quite controversial comments, and a number of companies are pulling their usage of X. I would like to just remind our policies of inclusiveness and the previous actions that we've done to support our overall policies of inclusion. And perhaps I would encourage to have a conversation the future usage of X going into the new year. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So for information, we have no new business this evening. So move on to item 16 for information. We have the board motions report, trustee committee reports, and our annual zone reports. And for the annual zone reports, we will give trustees a brief, say, minute. Is that fair? Can we work within a minute, or do you want more time? Minute, okay. We'll each have a minute to provide an overview of our trustee reports, starting with Chantel.
Hi. This is my first time doing being a trustee, period. So it's my first year, basically, almost to the day. And so doing this process and being able to visit the schools was extremely enlightening and so helpful to get down to that level to understand what's happening at the ground level. It really helps inform kind of, my thought process. I'm one of those people who love all the details, and it helps me kind of pull back and understand the wider view. So getting to know the people at all these places, Cedar Secondary, Cinnabar Elementary, I had Island Connected, I had CTC, Cedar Elementary, all just really unique environments that they've created, each of them unique and special in their own way. And I'm just extremely grateful to have met these amazing staff and students at all of these places. And I really hope to go back and just visit, period, because they're awesome people and it's a great place. So you'll probably see my face around there, even if I don't get these group of schools again. But they really touched my heart, every single one of them in their own special way. And I really appreciated being able to do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So maybe we'll go online next and go to Leanna.
Just zoning out here until my name's called. Yeah, it was incredible. I loved visiting the schools. I'm sad that a year went by so fast, and I feel like we get a little bit attached maybe, and it's like, oh no, what if I don't get to see all of these guys again? I don't know. I guess like the principals are just, especially of elementary schools, they're just superheroes. Like at three out of 4 elementary schools I visited in one day, principals rushed off to help a type 1 diabetic kid, for example, like rushed to ensure that their blood sugars were okay, like in and amongst all the other magic they're doing. It was just such an eye-opener to see, every part of like something to celebrate, a miniature crisis, like all of these things at once, and they're just running around in their capes. Like, hats off to everybody and the staff. Yeah, talking to students and the clubs. Honestly, I really found the clubs really interesting. Like hearing there's kind of a common theme, and some schools have clubs that I've never heard of, and others just have 1 or 2, and some have 8 or 9. That's really interesting. And yeah, I feel like I did my trustee report quite different than others, and I didn't really know that there was a template, and I feel like mine was a kind of a giant Instagram post. So maybe I'll tighten that up next time with like some bullet points and maybe some different lettering. Whoopsies. But yeah, it was really cool to read all of your guys's, and yeah, I'm gonna be sad to say goodbye to my schools if I don't get them again. It's crazy how attached you get in one little year.
Thanks, Diana. Thank you for sharing. Move on to Leanne.
Hi, thanks. I love your report, Leanna. So good. I'll just echo what other people have said as well. It's really great to get out into the schools and to see kids and to experience educators interacting with kids. And one of my schools was Gabriola. So I just came back from there this week, and they were so excited to see me. They were so excited to show me around and to take a lot of pride in their school and what they are doing. And I just really think it's a really great opportunity for us to get out and actually see what we're actually here for, right? Which is kids. And that's the best part of it for me. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Tanya?
Thank you, Greg. Yes, I was partnered with Leanne in the sense that I had 4 of the feeder schools out of NDSS, Point Hera, Quarterway, Fairview, and Mountain View. And I always really enjoy going to all of our schools, but it was really neat to go in French immersion schools in particular and go a little bit more in my learning about French immersion and how it works, and had some amazing conversations with the principal at Pauline Herrar about reading. And she told me about what things they're doing around literacy assessments that I thought was just really fantastic and fascinating, and really in line with our current goals and some of the upcoming thoughts we have on the strategic plan. The school spirit at all of our schools, the commitment to student leadership. I spent some time at Mountain View with they have a student leadership program that's mostly focused on the environment, and some of the ideas these kids come up with of things they would like to see in their schools and ways that they can improve the environment, and just the work that our staff are doing to help them to see that they are capable of making a difference, even if they're only in grade 5 or grade 6 or grade 7, is just amazing and beautiful. And at Fairview, they do something similar in the sense that at Fairview, the older students, the students in grade 7, I believe it is, they do a questionnaire that the principal gives them, and the principal will sit down and talk with them and will help them find opportunities where they could have actual student leadership opportunities, which is something I had never heard of before, and just really, really inspired me. And the other thing I wanted to share was that we had this year they had a book fair at Pauline Hera that was not just for their own school, but was for all the schools that are have French immersion programs. And all the books were French language to support kids having those kinds of books at home to read and keep their skills up. So we have got some really great people doing some really great work with amazing kids in our schools, and it's just such an honor and privilege to be part of it.
Thank you, Tanya. Moving on to Mark.
Thank you. I want to thank all the trustees around the table and at home that are online here joining us for their reports, because us trustees as a team, we have the opportunity to see what's been going on in the other schools, and is very useful. So thank you, fellow trustees, for your reports. I'd encourage members of the public to have a look. For those of you who don't have that opportunity, I can give you a quick 30-second Coles notes on what I've been doing. The Dover Bay Family of Schools. I'm in a unique circumstance in that I don't work traditionally Monday to Friday. I have some weekdays off, Thursday and Friday, so I've been able to get out to the schools more. So I've visited our schools like Dover Bay 4 times, which was amazing. The work that they've been doing, the staff needs to be commended. Seaview 3 times, Frank Jane 3, Granderson Ridge 3 or 4, McGurr 2, Pleasant Valley 3, Rutherford twice, and International Education once. It would take us an hour to go over all the awesome things that staff and the students have been doing. Well, I'll just summarize with one very important plea from the International education department is that homestay families are really required. There are kids that, we have a trustee right here today that does that and has bailed out and helped out a student in need. So, and I'll name her, it's Naomi. So thank you, Naomi, for helping international students. We need it all year round. So if you can, open up your families. You learn so much from them, they'll learn so much from you. And finally, the Randerson Ridge Craft Fair is at Dover Bay this weekend. If you have an opportunity, go check it out. And if you can even volunteer some of your time, that'll be even more amazing. Reach out to any of the parent volunteers there, because that money goes directly to the kids. So thank you for the fellow trustees. Thank you to parents. Thank you to the staff and the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Naomi.
Yeah, so my schools, family of schools, Ladysmith Secondary. So the elementary schools are North Oyster, Ladysmith Intermediate, and Ladysmith Primary. And returning to these schools for me was like coming home. And I have to say, when I wrote my report, I heard that some others were writing books, so I joined in and wrote another version of War and Peace. I apologize. I want to say that probably the standout for me is that in every school that I went into, because they are really unique schools in the South End in Ladysmith, but every single school I went into, there's a strong sense of community reflected in the schools. And, North Oyster has a dual track, French immersion, English. And I've mentioned the location just earlier in the meeting. It's surrounded, it's rural, it's beautiful. They have a significant Indigenous population. Most of the students come from Stunimas, so there's a sense, there's culture very present when you walk into the school as well. It's a really beautiful school. They've had a couple of mishaps this year with the physical structure, 2 floods that they've had to deal with, which has put a bit of a strain on the school and the staff. Ladysmith Primary, unique school too. It's our only K-3, and so it's all little ones in the school. It's quite lovely. And so how that school does things looks quite different because the kids are little. So they don't have organized sports teams and that sort of thing, but they do different activities and events for the kids. And it's just got a really lovely, the artwork in the walls when you walk in. It's just a beautiful school and a lovely staff. And the intermediate school, they have the sports teams, they have theater, drama. They really promote the arts at the school. It's an old school, and we're working on that. And hopefully something will come to fruition for them, because it is a school that is really not designed user accessible for all people. So Ladysmith Secondary, I always feel that, and I've said this before, that when you walk into a school, you can kind of measure a bit of the success of a school with the energy that meets you when you come in the doors. And the students at Ladysmith Secondary are very respectful, very polite. There's a lot of laughter in the hallways, a lot of chatter with the staff. And that's a reflection of the leadership of the school and the staff. And they have some incredible programs there. The land-based learning, I'm always going on about that, but it's such a beautiful program. The drama program, the improv, they finished 3rd in the nationals last year. They're just amazing. There's so many pieces, the sports teams, the dedication to them playing sports. Yeah. So overall, with all the schools, it's that sense of community. It's the dedication of the staff working with the students. And probably the biggest factor to me that makes these schools, I think, really safe is the involvement of the community in the schools. And you really feel that in the Ladysmith North Oyster area. Thanks.
Thank you, Naomi. So I'll just take a minute to thank trustees for putting together comprehensive zone reports. I enjoyed reading them all as well. As the chair, I don't have a zone, so I don't have a zone report, but maybe we should in the future. I don't know, just general. So that being said, I know there's a couple trustees that might want to have a discussion perhaps or comment. You didn't do, I had crossed you off. I'm terribly sorry, Tom. Okay. No, yes, Tom, I somehow missed you. I have him right here. Oh,
I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool.
why cross off?
Don't think I need more hair to be tomahawk. Yeah, I had my first bought my first house in Harewood. I had my first child in Harewood. I got my first adult job in Harewood. Harewood's been a huge part of my life, and it was an absolute honor to return this year as their zone trustee. Of course, after spending 20 years at Barsby, I thought I knew the district well, and you get to know it a little bit from a different perspective, doing this zone reporting and visiting schools. Some highlights of my visiting time. It was an absolute thrill to see what Jant did to Barsby. The Junior All-Native tournament coming into Barsby was one of the highlights, not of my year as a trustee, but of my time with the district, period. Volunteering for that was really special. The gift gala at Bayview was my first introduction to our active packs in the South End, and man, what a great movement. And of course, Christmas concerts. I'm always going to Christmas concerts, and Georgia did a great one. They got one coming up on the 2nd, if you can make it. But really, what I focused on in my report was the amazing work that happened in the South End because of partnerships. Our district and our staff has done an amazing job at creating new resources and new facilities for our kids by partnering with other groups. The obvious examples is the operating daycare at Chase River, and the one that's just broken ground at George Avenue, within the last 10 days. Taking a look at what's happening at the corner of Harewood and Howard and 7th with the turf fields and our partnership with the city. And then perhaps most impressive of it all is our just on the cusp of happening, but our partnership with BC Housing and the city of Nanaimo at the Tay-Sexton project. It really speaks to the hard work that our staff at the district level do to put ourselves in a position to offer these opportunities. Our hardworking teachers and our amazing students deserve the very best, and we won't get there alone. So I really, aside from all the wonderful warm and fuzzies and all the great opportunity, my consultation at Barsby and learning all was amazing. I really want to express gratitude for the hard work that staff does to improve our facilities and to give kids every opportunity. So, Tsepka.
Thanks, Tom, and my apologies. It's been a long day. Chantel, you wanted to share something with us.
Yes, to Mark Robinson's point about the craft fairs, you need to head down to Cedar Secondary first before you go to Dover. And I think it's the Saturday, the 25th, from 10 to 4, I believe. And then you can go over to Dover. I think there's actually another school that's having one on Saturday as well. So, yeah.
If we're doing it.
Yes.
I guess we are.
You know, we got a little thing in the South End. There are some craft fairs going on. I think I'm excited about it.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
I can, but I don't.
No, this one.
Yeah, as I briefly mentioned in my report, the gift galas are coming up again in December. This is a fantastic South End tradition that really was born out of charity, but carries with it a lesson that we could all appreciate about how consumer our Christmas is and how environmentally challenging our consumer habits at Christmas are. So I'm really I'm putting myself out there that between the 12th and the 15th, I'm going to be actively soliciting from trustees and other people that care about our schools. We're looking for lightly used gifts, things that would go well under the tree for a family, something that allows kids to come in and make sure they can bring something home for someone that they care about. And between the 12th and the 15th, I'll be offering my services as the gift Uber to come around and get what you need and bring it to our South End schools. So thank you very much to the PACs that organized this, and thank you in advance for your generosity.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anything else from anybody? Okay, So last item, are there any questions, Karen, on the, I don't see any. Okay, so I'll move on. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Chantel, seconded by Tom. All in favor? Carrie. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.